Hi, this is Marie from Underground Crafter, and I just wanted to share an interview that I did with Sue Rock from Sue Rock Originals Everyone Inc. as part of the Phoenix Wrap Crochet-a-Long with Lion brand. Whether you're interested in donating your Phoenix Wrap to Sue Rock Originals Everyone, or if you just want to understand a little bit more about why some nonprofit organizations that accept handmade donations have the rules that they have, this is a really interesting interview. So I hope you enjoy it. You could talk a little bit about why you think handmade donations are important in particular. I think that would be really helpful.
When I developed the idea of Sue Rock Originals Everyone, it was at a time that the spirit of the ancient grandmothers was going through the United States and getting everyone into knitting and crocheting. I don't know why. I don't know what 2006, 2007 was about. But all of a sudden, everybody wanted to pick up a needle or thread or yarn of some sort and start with a craft that had really been lying fallow for many, many years. I mean, nobody was looking at crocheting or knitting. And people were picking it up with a fervor that was really quite unique. You were seeing people diving into things like cables. They were diving into things like sock making. People weren't going that far out with it before. You make a square or whatever, or maybe a sampler. But socks was always seen as advanced. Folks were picking that up as the second or third item they were making. And so my initial interest was we were receiving a lot of raw materials free. And finding a way to liquidate these raw materials that were ever growing in my studio and working with these women. Okay, so that's the first piece. It seemed like a no-brainer because of the nature of textile artisans. People who are in the needle arts are voracious creators. They are, my favorite word to use with it is they're prolific. They can't stop. And so it's kind of like, it's kind of like a no-brainer. Give a knitter yarn, they're good to go, especially if you give them a situation where they don't have to find a person to now give this to, because they've already given everyone in their family 12 cable knit purple scarves. You know what I'm saying? So you really can,
only so many
allow them to have yet another time,
and
to give them a boundless quantity, or provide them with a resource that they may not have the time or the resources to explore. Some people want to go chunky, and they don't have it like that financially. Some people want to go very thin and do different things, and they don't have the capacity to get that yarn on that quantity to make a very thin angel hair or lace scarf. So this fed a creative population, you know what I'm saying? Or the creative volunteers. What I learned was this, is that when you're looking at a population of people that have been so tore down consistently, over and over again, the actual receipt of something handcrafted is groundbreaking for them. It's groundbreaking. It winds up being a huge watershed moment for these men and women, and in the beginning it was mostly women. Now we're getting a lot of men. I really want to work with the youth community, the youth community that comes out, because people to get, and we would present the items. I just want to add a little spin to it. The way that we were presenting the items was one that was very choice friendly. So we were presenting the items in a way in which folks could pick their own item when they got it. It wasn't you've got a whole bunch of handcrafted things. I've pre-bagged them and kind of handed the pre-bagged items to you. No, we're laying items out as if you're at Uniqlo, as if you're at Anthropologie.
So you're
picking things that actually, and you're picking things that actually work with your aesthetic and with your wardrobe. So the choice piece was interesting, but the fact that it was handcrafted really elevated people's sense of self-worth. Because this was a handcrafted item that was made for them. And anyone can feel the value of the time that it takes to make something handcrafted in this day and age. Sometimes it's hard pressed to get somebody to buy you a gift, you know what I'm saying, as inexpensive as things can be. So to know that someone took the time to make something handcrafted, and it's so fly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so delightful, some of the things that are being created. Even in the beginning, I was getting things like, cable knit gauntlets. I was getting little car coats. I was getting fabulous boleros with hoods because people were exploring their own creativity with these free resources. So if you've got like a huge bag full of yarn in that cherry red and maybe another subtle color, how am I going to transform this into something that's actually usable? And coming up with some brilliant ideas.
Right.
And so that, it was transformational. The handcrafted piece, at first I had started by saying, people had seen things in their childhood, but it wasn't so much that. People were in awe that life could bring them an experience of generosity and kindness and creativity and functionality, even at this low point in their lives. It was reestablishing a new sense of hope. I think that's really important to understand how it reestablished a new sense of hope in a very, very intimate way, because they don't know me from Adam's South. I'm not from some large organization they're going to, and yet this gift is coming through the ethers for them that many times matches their own aesthetic for who they are today. So that's where the handcrafted piece is so, so, so valuable. And it was effortless for the people who are creating to create. So it really made it a win-win.
Yeah. When I saw you at Nitty City, you were talking a little bit more in depth about why you don't sort of say, okay, make a hat, make a scarf, but you really look for more, different types of pieces. Can you talk a little bit more about that for people that, didn't get to hear you say it already?
I wanted to make a breakthrough in the whole craft giving movement because it is possible if a person, two things. One, I wanted to make a breakthrough in the craft giving movement, and I wanted people to think a little bit about what it's like to start over. People who work in knitting, crocheting are very creative. We're brilliant, brilliant minds. And so I wanted to put the question out there so that the person who is creating could participate in the process of healing another life. Creating for craft charities can become an activity for the creator that fills their need as far as, I can get rid of these little yarns, or I can have something to do, or I can finish, I could try a new stitch, that kind of thing. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to feed and nourish the domestic violence survivor with the creativity of that craftsperson. And so I'm asking the craftsperson, think about what it would be like if you left everything. What would you really need? It may not be a hat. Let's really stop for a minute. It may not be just a hat. If you only have a denim jacket and a turtleneck, in order to go out, to go to class, right? Because no one knows what's going on, to go to court, to go to pick up your kids in school, it's going to be more than a hand knit hat to bring your whole look together that you are starting a new life. And so with that, I encouraged people to think of what one might need, at least try. That was one of the criteria to shift the scope from, I could, of course, just make a bunch of hats and that's an effortless move. But I think people have more in there to understand the dynamic. And I want to share some of the experience of what I'm doing with the people who are creating. That means let's think outside the box. You've lost everything. What might you need? You might need a bag. You might need a bag to put all of your paperwork to take to work or to take to family court or to take your child's project to school. These are real things that folks do instead of having a Dwayne Reed bag.
Right.
Instead of having that black Trader Joe's bag. You know what I'm saying? Because you've just moved. Let's look at that. Maybe you need something for your cell phone and your keys and your cigarettes. Some people still smoke. You see where I'm going? These are the type of functional things. If it's a hat, let's do hat, scarf, gauntlets. Let's give it a whole look. Because we're trying to really, it's less to keep the person warm, but if we're speaking specifically about women, we got to uplift the whole structure. And nothing uplifts more than something that's flying hand knit. A hand knit, especially at the fact that hand knits and hand crochets are trending now.
Yeah.
If you make somebody a hand knit bag with one of those old handles that you haven't used yet, you've already upped the person's game, 120%.
Right.
Even with a denim jacket and a pair and jeans and a pair of boots.
Right.
You've already took them into another strap. It's got to take it there because they're trying to move there. And once again, I'm working with people who had made the choice to leave.
Yeah.
And so what other things, and it's a creative challenge for the person.
Sure.
Oh, wow, I never crocheted anything. You've made a rectangle. Well, 3 rectangles is the best.
Right.
2 rectangles and a strap is a bag with a little bone on it for a cut, So let's start playing with those ideas. I'm not in a rush, but the creativity that comes out of that has everybody growing.
Sure.
It has everybody growing. How about you can do 2 squares, and now that's a pillow for the person's new apartment. I didn't say it just had to be clothing. You feel where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Some people don't do earrings.
Yeah.
Some people do that crochet in the circle for earrings. That's of value. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we're looking at, what I try to share with folks is that we are looking at extending the wardrobe. If a person has just had maybe 7 items they were able to pull before they ran, what's going to extend their wardrobe? Capelets and ponchos are awesome. The chunky look is in. So you can knock out a capelet that a person can wear with a turtleneck, and do that routine. So these are the ways that I'm encouraging folks to think, to try some new things that they hadn't before and push the envelope, but always thinking with that sensibility, wow, what would I need if I had to leave? Because it's the same thing that people are thinking when they make hats for preemies.
Right.
It's the same thing that people are thinking when they're thinking of lap blankets for the elderly. It's that, it's like the person's chilly, they're in the wheelchair. There's a practicality there.
Sure.
I want to introduce that practicality to this concept, and then, and of course I always provide, easy patterns that folks can work with, but that's the sensibility behind it. Does it make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then what would you say is the best way to donate for people to mail right to the address you have on the website? Do they need to email you first? Like, what is the best process?
I think the best way is that people can send the items directly to Sue Rock Originals, everyone, and the address is 50 East 18th Street. We're at Suite A8, Brooklyn, New York, 11226. It's no problem to get a confirmation letter. You'll get a confirmation letter from our nonprofit, thanking them for the item, of course, and letting them know how the donation went. And all of that is we're a 501c3. And if people need yarns and they're located in the New York region, we can get yarns to them as well.
Okay. I'll note that because I know there's a lot of New Yorkers reading the Lion Brand blog for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And we have amazing, amazing yarns. And we always accept donations, even if folks have made things themselves and still have them, we can accept those donations as well.
Okay. Is there anything else you feel like you want to make sure people know?
Absolutely. We are always looking for people who are willing to volunteer and teach. And so if anyone is in the New York area or they're traveling to the New York area, they should contact us at SueRockOriginals@yahoo.com and get on our mailing list. So I'll say it slow because I know this is taking it down. SueRockOriginals@yahoo.com. And let us know, because we're in contact with all of the domestic violence residences in New York City. And it's a wonderful opportunity to, in turn, train the next generation of people who'll be able to then, in turn, make the items that they left behind.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sue. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thanks so much for listening. And you can get the Phoenix Wrap free crochet pattern on Underground Crafter, or you can also find the links right here on Lion Brand. Have a wonderful day.